Malign Portents. All turns to ash. An unnatural chill swept through the magma hold of the Ulrung Lodge. Those that dwelt within the cavern halls were not just Duradin, stout-willed and dismissive of superstition. They were fire slayers. As stubborn and bold as their patron deity, Grimnar, the fiery god of battle, the spike-haired warrior race scoffed at the suggestion that anyone could penetrate their defences. Over the long ages, many foes had battered upon the old fort's gates, but always to no avail. Until today, no uninvited guest had ever stepped foot within the hold. How the spectral creatures had done it was unknown, but they had. In the heart of the magma hold, behind the protective gates and axes of barrel-chested guardians, phantasmal creatures had drifted out of the bedrock and begun a terrific slaughter. There were but few of the horrors, but before the Hearthguard berserkers could track them down, the fiends had wrought unspeakable calamity. Patrols were sent to each of the magma hold's gates in an attempt to ascertain how the menace had breached their sanctum. "I thought all entrances bore runes to ward off the dead," growled one of the warriors as they strode towards the east gates to check the perimeter. As they approached the outer portcullis, all eyes turned to Grumthar, the lodge's foremost rune-smiter. "Aye," he replied, waiting impatiently for the iron bars to rise. "Defences of stone and iron mean naught to spectral forms, but every gate bears the runes of Uzgt-Kalin. They should have barred entrance to such beings." Encounters with the undead were not unusual for those of the lodge. Over the long years since their founding, they had weathered many supernatural phenomena. The lodge took part in the Ghoul Wars, survived the decade-long Wailing Storm, and stood firm against the Vampire Alliance. Such was life in the realm of death. Settled late in the Age of Myth, the lodge had followed a trail of Urgold into Shyish. There they had founded their hold beneath the highest peaks of the Grey Spears, a volcanic range of mountains in Anathasia. Since those distant days, they had expanded their underhalls and filled their grand vault with Urgold. In all those years, the hold had been attacked many times, but the Fireslayers took great pride in their mastery of defences. Grumthar gazed out from the hold. A gloom hung heavy over the lands, growing deeper upon the horizon. Mournful howls could be heard on the rising wind. A storm was coming, and it was not a natural one. Turning his attention to the runes that adorned the gate, Grumthar ran his calloused fingers over the symbols chiselled into the iron-reinforced stone. His fingers traced the filigree of Urgold that lined the carved ancestral marks. "Grown cold," Grumthar muttered as he probed further. As a rune-smiter, Grumthar was a member of the Zargrim priesthood. It was his task to go to battle with the warriors and to call forth the power of Grimnar. By his chants did the Urgold runes, pounded into the flesh of his fellow Fireslayers, glow with the energies of the Duradin war god, granting strength and fighting prowess to the faithful. But no amount of chanting could bring those protective wards back to life. They were Urkazar, runes whose power had died. It was part of Zargrim's duty to ensure the lodge's defences runes were kept fiery, lit by the flame of Grimnar, and linked to the eternal fires that burned within the great forge of the magma hold. This was a duty they never shirked. Scratching his head, Grumthar found no flaw within the runes that would explain how they had turned so cold. He felt his anger rising, But there was no foe upon which to vent his growing frustration. Here was a mystery, and Grumthar did not like any problem he could not solve with an axe. Hagnar needed to know of the gates failing. None understand the runic arts as he did, for he was Rune Master, the Duradin who forged them. Hagnar would be found in the innermost sanctum of the Ulfort, in the Temple of Fire. It was there that Grumthar headed. With every step towards the Temple of Fire, Grumthar's apprehension grew. So vast was the immense furnace, the great Grungron, that he should have been able to feel its heat radiating through the passageways as he drew near. Yet it was not so. Yet it grew colder as he neared the heart of the hold. Grumthar arrived within the Temple of Fire to find the doors flung wide open and the rest of the Zagrim priesthood gathered around the ancient Rune Master. He saw with trepidation that the great furnace was not lit. Since the age of myth, when it had first been fanned to flames by the spark from Brockfor, the father of all forges, the great Grunron of the Ulfort had burned hot. Now its flames were extinguished. Runemaster Hagnar was standing before the furnace, concentration furrowing the old Duradin's face, every muscle of this thick frame straining. Far below ground, stone shifted with deep rumbles as the Runemaster called forth magma from the realm's core. "Nuk azar Grimnar, I nuk azamar," called Hagnar. "Let the flames of Grimnar rage forever." With that, molten rock burst up, and flames licked the forge, yet the furnace would not light. Seemingly not even the Runemaster's powers could rekindle it. A sinister chill descended over the chamber. In that moment of despair, Grumthar felt his fighting spirit rising. His voice boomed. "Kinfolk of Ulrong, the eternal fire has been turned to ash. Our defenses are down. We must prepare for an assault by the dead." Even as he began the chant that would light the rage fires of battle within his brethren, Grumthar found the words dying in his throat. A glow had begun in the forge, but it was not the blaze of Grimnar's flames. It was cold amethyst. "We cannot prepare to defend against them," said Hagnar, all vitality drained from his voice. "The foe is already here."